First thing I tell everybody is if your main interest is to turn, spend a lot of time turning, then just get a solid block of wood and throw it on the lathe and have at it. Because beginning and segmented turning, about 10% of your time is turning. The rest of the time is spent designing. So, for example, I'm going to let this out here. This one here, I had 15 hours making up this feature ring. It took me 15 hours to make up this feature ring. It took me 12 hours to make up the rest of it. It took me 3 hours to turn it. So out of 31 hours, like I say, 10% of your time is turning, the rest of the time is, and that didn't include the design work. So like I say, if your goal is to turn, you just throw on a chunk of wood. I gave everybody a handout, and on the back page of that handout, you'll see, and there again, if you just Google segmented turning, segmented wood turning, you would spend weeks going through all the information. I mean, it's just unbelievable the information that there is there. But if you're really interested in getting started, there's all kinds of DVDs, books, and everything else. This is the only book that I've ever bought. This is put up by Malcolm Tibbetts. Malcolm Tibbetts, that's his website, the second item down. That's it, and you ought to see some of the stuff that this man makes. But anyhow, he's got like 6 or 8 DVDs. This is a 7 or 8 year old book. It's the only book that I've ever purchased. But he's got several DVDs, goes through more stuff. But this goes through basically all the basics. And as far as I'm concerned, Malcolm Tibbetts is probably, he is one of the best when it comes to segmented turning. So I recommend that book. It's $30. You can get a clean spool or Woodcraft online from Malcolm.
When you say one of the best, I assume you mean second to you.
No. I mean, this guy is a genius. He, where he comes up with his ideas is beyond me. What I'll do is, I have my print sitting up here, say if I need, and I work everything in decimal when it comes to cutting the segments. Now, when I'm figuring out the length of the board, I need 24 inches. But if I need segments, it's going to be 1.38 or 1 point whatever. Yeah. What I'll do is, I have my print sitting up here, say if I need, and I work everything in decimal when it comes to cutting the segments. Now, when I'm figuring out the length of the board, I need 24 inches. But if I need segments, it's going to be 1.38 or 1 point whatever. Yeah, I do it in decimals, which I don't use metric, but I use decimal. So say if my print calls for 1.38, I'll just put out with my digital caliper, and I'll just slide it out here until I get 1 point, real sophisticated. Another 1.38, and I'll put my. Now I know that this saw blade is going to cut right at that very edge. So just to get me started, I'll go ahead and just eyeball that, slide this stop over, and lock it. Then I'll make one cut. Now I'll measure. This is my 10 down. 1.39. Now, 10 dollars on 16 segments. So I would think if I wanted to. People say you can't get accurate with wood. 0.389. But if you get accurate with wood. What I'll do is I'll cut one ring, put them in these little dishes, Select the ring number on it, put that in with it, set that aside, and then look up the next ring, put the next ring, put the next ring.
You
That
don't
turn,
do any sanding at all there.
not there, no. No, that turning there was, as far as the main, not the feature ring, but like this here, I was maybe 45 minutes cutting all those segments. It doesn't take that long. Now, what takes time when you get into these, 96 in a ring and so on. So what I do here, and all that, when you're done, you can have these little fuzzies. And you want to get rid of them because you want to make sure you don't end up in there and get in between your joints, otherwise you don't have to take joints. So there's a couple of ways of doing this. The large enough segments, you can take a sanding board, just a piece of MDF with sandpaper on it, just wait. You're not taking any material out, just getting rid of it, and you just knock corners off.
Yeah.
Myself, I'm lazy, so what I did was I went out and purchased Harbor Freight, which is another Harbor Freight purchase. I purchased this little $60 tumbler, vertical tumbler. It's made for tumbling stones and other stuff. And I'll take one ring, I'll throw it in there, put the lid on it. And just on themselves, they'll just rattle around on themselves and knock all those fuzzies off. Sometimes on the maple, we may not get them all because it's a harder wood. For the most part, so what I'll do now, I'll go back up the next ring, and that's cut, I'll come over, take these out, put those in. So I'm all got my rings already sanded. Now, if you're just going to do one segment, that's not worth it. You just take, like say, sanding board or some sandpaper and just lay them across it. So that's how I cut my segments. Like say, Malcolm, he uses a chap saw.
If you make one like this one, you wouldn't flip it, right? You would just slide
You
it
would- yeah.
back and forth.
Right. Yeah, so there again, you can go online and there's all kinds of sleds available, different designs. And I tell Michael and the others what I liked about this sled here. When I first started, I used the incremental gauge, which is good. I mean, it's accurate. But what happened when we got done, that piece of wood laid right here next to the blade when you cut that segment. So now you got to retrieve it. Well, now you got to get close to that blade. Okay. That's what I like about this sled. In other words, I'll go ahead and cut it, and then when I pull the sled back, the segment comes back to me. And normally I got that over top.
Yeah, that's what I found out with the chop saw, like you were talking about, is you have to wait for the blade to stop every time, because if not, if you raise it up, it slings it off.
Well, and then you got to reach up, you got to make the cut.
3 times long.
You got to let it stop. Now you got to raise it up. Then you got to move this. You got to move this, and it's just so. Where here you can just start cutting and just go and go and go. It's just nonstop.
Is that what kind of blade?
That's a Freud, but it's 82.
82.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like this little gizmo here,
Yeah,
that makes it fall away.
That gets it away from you. Now, if you're getting into the smaller segments, matter of fact, let's see, that's.
You have this set up at specific angles, Charlie?
Yeah, I've got 22 different angles on there. And
Okay.
set it up. But if you're getting into smaller segments, for example, if you do some of those 96 or 144, now this year's set up for only 24 segments. Or if you're getting into smaller segments, like this, not to have a small one, you got to tendency a lot of times to kick back. Not that it's going to hurt you, but kick back. So what I've done there again, you got to envision you're going to cut 96 of these for one ring. Well, that's 96 times that you've got to reach over and pick up this little piece, if it's there we can get it. So I'll make this up. And I take my vacuum cleaner. I'll pick it up. sand these in my hand.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what I told you. Once I cut that ring, I just dump them out. Well, I say, yeah, otherwise you gotta take each one of these and slide it across that sanding board. And I say it earlier, on some of these rings, there's a couple of bases I did, there's 70-some rings in a 1/4 inch thick. The smallest segment was 3/16. And when I went from one ring to the next, the segments only increased by 5 thousandths. Now, 5 thousandths, if you had a 5 thousandths error on 96 segments, that's a lot. Or like I say, on this here, if you got a 10 thousandths error on 16 segments, that doesn't amount to much.
So you just take these pieces and dump them in your
I'll just
tumbler?
dump them in there, the one ring, I'll dump them in that tumbler and let them rattle around, and cut the next ring, to save me hand sand. Like I say, the tumbler I wouldn't mess with if you're just doing 1 or 2 turnings.
Yeah.
But if you really want to get into it, you know, like I said, I think that was like 60 bucks.
Yeah.
And I've been using it 8 or 9 years, just running. So. I like to work, but I can be lazy too much.
Well, that's being smart, so that.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's how I cut the segments. Any questions on that? Any questions on that at all, or we're good? Like I say, if anybody's got any questions?
How's your shop so clean as well? Shop so clean.
Dust flags.
Charlie, tell them what you did for your professional career.
Part of it was installing dust collection systems.
I need a class in that.
Yeah.
The last one I did was 100 horsepower. Got a 28-inch inlet into the fan.
Let me slide you here.
I think you have a class on building your sled, just gonna show it, if you did a class on building your.
Yeah, see if there's enough interested in it. Yeah.
Definitely.
There again, a lot of people down to this wedging.
See, like to me, that's a good part of it
That's,
right
to
there.
me, that's the heart of it. And like I say, now, and Malcolm, he, originally when he started, he was using a rigid chop saw. And he would, when he cut them, they weren't quite accurate. So he had this jig and he would actually sand it. I can't imagine doing that. I mean, once that's cut, now you gotta go ahead and sand each one, which is gonna change the length. But then again, you set the jig up so they're all the same, but then you gotta sand each one, and that, to me, just so much time, and I've never done that. Since then, he's got a fest tool, which I guess is a lot more accurate, and so he comes it off the chop saw. Now, he doesn't show in his book what he does as far as fuzzies. I don't know. I'll guarantee he probably doesn't have a tumbler. So I don't know what he does. And the amount that he turns out is unbelievable.
Just starting out. I was gonna say, just starting out, you said just take a piece of sandpaper.
Yes, what I've done is sanding board.
Like this sand.
Yeah. You just take a piece, and all you're gonna do is just slide all 6 sides, and that'll take care of all the fuzzies. Sometimes if it's maple, you might have, and again, you haven't got to worry about knocking the corners off, because that's gonna be you're gonna be turning at least 1/4 inch of wood away on it, okay? So don't worry about knocking the corners off.
Is that like 120?
120, 100. Most paper I use is 100 grit. On my disc sander, my head sander, drum sander, I use 100 grit.
I was gonna say real quick, this is my sled. If you search the internet for wedgie sled, the whole point behind this is you can cut if you lay your board here, put your stop out here on your, on your table saw, I guess your stop would be out here. You can cut here, and then either here or here, and here, and here.
And
Okay,
you don't flip the board.
Without having to flip the board?
Yeah, and your setup is you have to make a wedge. Now this one is 10 segments. I have a 3D printer at home, so I printed per the angles. I designed a piece that was the right angle for 10 segments. You drop it in, you move your 2 upper and lower arms till you have no gap, top and bottom. The top and bottom of these arms are parallel, and now your angle's set.
You did these on the 3D printer?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
So that's just another way. And then I stole one of Charlie's ideas. This actually fits in my miter slot, and you can see where I've raised the blade up into it. So as I cut a piece, the pieces fall off, and they'll rest here. They don't come back to me, but they'll rest here. And I just keep cutting. What happens is each cut, you push them a little further and they tend to
Yeah, I
trickle out away from the
Just
blade.
what I there's what it's like.
So, just another one, and I threw that together with scraps I had in my shop.
That's not a bad idea either.
But if you look up wedgie sled on the internet, you'll find a whole bunch of different versions of it.
Yeah, like I say, there's many ways you can cut the segments, you know, whatever your preference is. Personally, I like the sled that I've got. All right, once we've got all the segments cut, now we need to start assembling. And there's several ways you can do that. And there again, if you just want to get started and say, I want to try a turning, but I don't know if I'm going to really get into it or not, go as simple as you can. And the simplest way, and the first couple of years that I did segmented turning, this is the way I did it, and the turnings come out perfect. You want to have access to wet rags, you're going to need that before you come out glue. And this is what they call a rub joint. You put the glue on, and you want to use a lot of glue. If you don't, you'll start setting up quicker than what you want it to, but then again, you're gluing in grain. So they're going to really soak up the glue. So as far as the rub joint, all you do is you put glue on one surface, put some pressure, rub those together, feel the tip of it, there you got it flush, and you leave it. Then you go ahead and do the next one.
Always just 2 at a time?
Yep, just, well, yeah, you can do more if you can keep them lined up.
Chad said he needs some metal rings to tighten.
Yeah, well, that's another way of doing it.
Those clamps.
Like I say, this is the rub joint process. And like I say, this works. So like I say, you go ahead and do that, leave them 15 minutes, whatever, and come back. And then you go, so you're going to go up 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. When I first started, I'd have them all over there, all over, I mean, the shop was just covered. Then you come back and you glue these two to these two.
Yeah.
Then you come back, so you glue 4, 4, 4, so there you end up with 4 quadrants. So now that gives you your full circle. Now if you're going to do 12 segments, do 2, 2, and 2, come back and do 4, 4, and 4, but don't do 4, 4, 4 because you end up with third circles. So you glue 2, you glue there 4, and then you come back and add on the third one. Then anyhow, that's how you glue that up.
Now, do you wait for the glue to set on each one of those before you,
15, 20 minutes.
oh, that's all?
Yeah. And there again, because normally if you're going to do it this way, you got all your segments cut, so you're going to have a table laid out, so you're going to take all these segments, you glue them up into 2s.
Just go around.
By the time you got 10 or 12 rings done, you come back and you start gluing 4s together, so you're back and forth.
Uh-huh.
So doing it like that, you don't clamp them at all?
Nope, nope. Just strictly, and I'll show you some of the first turnings I did, and the joints are just as tight as you could. Matter of fact, that ring neck right there is all done with rub joint. No clamps, no, that's strictly done with rub joint.
That's a lot easier.
What is the paper on your?
Oh, I use glass here mainly. Just plastic coated freezer paper. Do not use wax paper. It's so thin that sometimes get caught up in between the segments. And I used wax paper one time when I got done in the evening, and I left some on the top of the tables on. I come out the next morning, the moisture gone right through and rusted the tabletop. So I do not use wax paper. Because this works like you can just wait to glue off it. Even when I'm gluing up my rings, stacking my rings, I'll work off this. But when I'm gluing my segments up, I've got this piece of glass that works off. Oh, and this is, people laughing. I've got this little,
I was going to ask you about that.
it's just like working on that solid. In other words, if I'm gluing, especially if you're going to glue up a ring where you've got 48 segments, and I glue everything up in half rings. I don't make a full ring. Even though they may match up, I could. I'll still glue them in half rings. To me, it's a lot more accurate. But say if you're going to glue up all these, you normally got to pick this bottle up. Wait, where here, the glue's always there, and all I do is squeeze it.
Yeah.
Clever person, isn't it?
And I'll tell you what, you'd be amazed how much time that saves.
Yeah, it does, yeah. I've
Saves
got
all the time in the world.
the little blue ball that's got the end cap that pulls in and out.
Yeah.
So I just got a little hole, I stick it in after the paint's closed. Cause it is, you waste a whole bunch of time.
Yeah.
For that glue to come out.
And not only that, if you're gluing 12 segments, if you're not careful, by the time you get the glue on all of them, the first two will start setting up, and they won't move, won't get into position. So that's.
So you don't use an acid brush at all, you just use finger.
That should be a brush or something like that, it just takes more time.
Yeah.
And like I say, when you start gluing this up, depending on the wood, just like right here on these, if this was sapele, which is these, and just something about the sapele wood, once you put that glue on, and you start the rub joint, after about the third rub, you can't move it. It's already set up. Now maple takes a lot longer,
Yeah.
so it depends on the species of wood. Like I say, that ring that I passed around, that's all rub joint. There's no clamping to that.
That saves a lot of time too.
It's fumbling around with clamps.
That's why I was wondering about the different glues for the setup time. I thought you put all of them together and put a band around it or something, try to do that one. So
Well, there again, the
Yeah.
tight bond original works.
that works too, that one.
And I've gone the rub joint. Now, some people on the smaller rings, they'll glue them all up using rubber band, because it doesn't take that much pressure. I finally went to band clamps. And, got here. Okay, so this is the original book where I got the second one.
So you don't dry fit at all?
Yeah,
Oh, you do?
that's what I'm doing right here.
Oh, okay.
Now, I've got a real sophisticated tool here.
Weird.
That just pulls everything together. Line everything up. And then I'll go ahead and mark the ring number. Since this is a darker wood. I've got some white pencils, so say this is ring number 2, I'll just mark it on there. So I can come back and know what ring it is. Then I'll use a band clamp. Now, even though when I pull this together with this cord, all right, matter of fact, let me put the clamp on it.
That's a clever idea there.
Yeah, get a power driver, because if you try doing that by hand, you'd be forever. So if you look at that, it fits pretty good.
And I guess on the bigger ones, you can just join these together.
Yeah, I'll show you on that. I don't, because I don't like to have that extra second worm.
Right.
You know, as far as clamps, your regular band clamps, you can buy up to 12-inch diameter. So then if you need bigger than that, then you can start putting clamps together. Well, 2 4-inch clamps don't make an 8-inch.
Right.
So next thing you know, you're trying to, okay, what do I need? And then you end up with these extra worm gear and so on. So what I've done, if you go to McMaster car or McMaster, you can buy a 50-foot roll, or whatever reason you buy a 50-foot roll or a 98.5-foot roll of this material. And then you buy the worm screws separate. And all you do is you cut the material whatever length you want, you bend the loop on the one end, and that locks you into this screw. So I got a pile of these out there, so I can go whatever length you want.
I didn't even know you could buy that stuff like that.
And those are also the quick, I saw you do
No,
it.
these aren't quick. I will not use a quick disconnect.
Okay.
No, you gotta unscrew this all the way.
So, you
This
said
is
that,
just- See, this is just separate. That's a separate piece.
you say you get that like at automotive stores?
McMaster. McMaster used to be McMaster car, but they all go by McMaster.
Oh, okay.
They got industry, they sell all kinds of things for industry. And there, I think that was on there. Yeah, 98.5 foot rolls, $58. And the screws were $8.10 per pack of 10. But I say you can also buy this in 50 foot roll.
Right.
So for $30, you can have enough to make 50 feet of clamps.
When,
I don't like to get the second clamp and you get the second worm, because a lot of times it ends up in the wrong position.
yeah.
So once I've decided that clamp, its ring is good enough to put together, even though I could glue that whole thing up, I won't, because there again, depending on the size of the ring and number of segments and so on, first thing you know, you're going to run out of time getting the glue on it.
So you're just doing that just to make sure they all fit?
Yeah, and normally I wouldn't even put the clamp on it. I know they're going to be close, so I'll just go ahead and get them together, position I want, get my clamp ready to work. Before I put this together, I made up these spacers, rubber spacers, and all it is just some Walmart shelf rubber. It's like a 1/16 of an inch thick. And I just took 3 layers of it, like 12 by 12, glued together contact cement. And I'll use these as a spacer. So if something happens, these are not perfect. Some people use a dowel. You put a wooden dowel here and a wooden dowel here, and then you clamp it, it'll tighten up these joints. But then you got this dowel, you gotta fight it, you fall over. I use this and it works. I mean, I've been using it for many years now. So when I'm ready to glue up, I'll go ahead and pull out all these segments. Then using this, and there again, use a lot of glue. If you can see through the glue, it's not enough. Because if you don't put enough glue on, by the time you get over here, these two will start to set up.
Plus, you're only putting glue on one surface there,
Yeah,
too,
'cause
right?
some people say glue both surfaces. Why?
I've always wondered about that.
You know, why bother? It's just, I mean, it's,
Just get more squeeze out.
yeah, well, there again, I get a lot of squeeze out because I use a lot of glue.
Yeah.
If you're gluing end grain, typically the end grain will soak the moisture out of the glue.
Yeah.
But the way he does it so quick, it doesn't have time to soak the
Soak
moisture out.
in, yeah.
So then I'll put my little rubber spacer in there, and I'll start tightening the clamp up.
Now, what was the purpose of the spacer again, Charlie?
Because if these
Because you don't want
joints, if the joints weren't perfect, if I had a little bit of gap,
Uh-huh.
in other words, if this angle was off 1/4 of a degree on each joint, each segment,
Right.
okay, if you could divide that among 16 times, it wouldn't be a problem. But if each one's off 1/2 degree, 1/4 degree, it's going to end up in one joint.
Ah.
So what this rubber is doing here now is that's tightening up, so these joints are going to be tight, these joints are going to be tight. I'll come back and straighten up these 2 joints when I'm done.
Oh, okay.
So I'll go ahead and tighten, just snug the clamps down a little bit, wipe off some of the excess glue. Like I say, you gotta have ready,
That's just a damping right there.
just a wet rag and spray it. Now, see right there, Wayne, see that gap you got right there?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
See that gap right there? And I tighten this up,
Squeezing out some more.
look like the gap's gone.
Yep, yeah.
And that's just, you said shelf pad stuff?
Yeah, like I say, this is just your shelving rubber, and I just glued 3 layers together. And what's nice on here, I got a whole bunch of them stacked up right here. I'll use these, and as you can see, they're squashed down. I'll take them out and just lay them aside, 30 minutes later, they're expanded right back out.
At least not long enough.
Right. Now, one thing, a lot of times if you start putting these together and they don't quite mesh up, I'll just snug that up a little bit. I got a little big Bertha here. I'll just tap it. Some people make up a press, and they'll go ahead and glue these up, and then they'll press it, and then tighten the clamp around, which I don't see any reason for it.
How long do you let them sit till they're ready to glue to?
15 to 20 minutes.
That's
Well, in other words, this is glued, half of this is done, okay? So I'll go ahead and glue up several rings, just set that aside, let that dry. Once that half is done, then I'll turn around, take the clamp off, and glue the other half, using new rubber spacers. Once both halves are done, like this, what I'll do then is I'll take them out of the plant, this stuff has been used for 5 years now on these classes, so get pretty well marked up. When I take them out of the plant, this is ring number 2. I guess it would have to be ring number 4. I'll go ahead and I'll mark number 4, and on the other side I'll mark 4X and 4X. The reason I do the X, I'll do these ends up on the disc sander. When I do that, I want to do this one right side up, and I want to do this one upside down. It's just like if you're joining boards. If you can get your fence set at 90 degrees, I mean, I'm sure these fences are close to 90 degrees, are they perfect? Probably not. But if you're joining boards to put together as a tabletop,
Yeah.
you want to alternate your boards. So if it's 89 degrees, it'll still come back and line up. So that's why I do this. In other words, I'll go ahead on that disc sander. I'll go ahead and get these made up in halves, get them marked. I'll go ahead and mark them. Then on that disc sander, I'll just barely touch those ends, both of them, and line it up perfect. Now, if you don't have a disc sander, you can do this on a table saw. I've got a jig I've made up, and that's the way I did it for 2 or 3 years. I got these 2 spacers. What I want is I want this ring to hang over this piece. And I'm going to slide that along my fence, and I'm going to just saw off just a slight amount. And so to set this up with the same amount of time, what happens in the spacers, I'll set that there. I'll take the ring, drop it down so it touches the tabletop. And this piece will set down. Lock that on. So now I'm sticking it, because I don't want to cut the face of the MDF, all I want to do is cut this. Then I'll take that. I don't know if you can see that or not. And I'll set that up so it'll just barely touch that blade. Now right there, I'm just moving that blade. And there again, you want to take it off as little as possible. Okay.
Now, are you at 90 degrees here still, Charlie?
On my saw blade. What do you mean at 90 degrees?
Well, I thought these were on an angle.
Well, but this is a half a ring.
Oh, okay, I got you.
That's a half a ring.
I got you. Okay.
So now I'll just run this through. I want to just take off and play it out. You'll see a little bit of a line.
I like your finger taking off. I like your finger taking off.
Let's say you want to take it as little as possible. That's what it's done. So I'll just take that one out. Using this same setup. Now I don't have to take the fence.
Your spacer wasn't under it.
I've got the, there we go, the black label. Now once I've done this, I'm going to do a 15 ring. I want to take the fence. I'm going to make the first up. So on that on. Well, that one's cleaned up. This is getting kind of oval shaped. I've cut those ends off several times. So when you do that, normally I'd clamp this down. So when you do that, you got to come. You want to go careful. because you start tipping this way. First thing you know, you're around it.
Yeah.
So yeah, some of these big feature rings and stuff, I'll still touch it up by hand.
I like the way you know where all your stuff is, your jigs and everything. I spent half an hour looking for it.
Like I say, place for everything in its place.
Yeah.
Using the disc sander though, how do you keep from touching one face?
I mean, you'll touch it. Yeah. There again, if you touch this corner first, this corner will be turned off anyhow. As long as you don't touch it too much. Oh, you'll be amazed, I mean, you'll touch it. Just like that now, if you do it enough, you get used to it. Once you're done, whether you're using a rub joint, you glue it together, or you're using clamp. You know, a lot of people on these smaller rings, they'll use a rubber band, like I said, they'll use a rubber band, putting that together. So there's several ways of doing it. So you go through the process and you glue up all your rings. So you got 260-degree rings. Any questions on that?
So how many times have you dropped your little bucket of segments on the floor? You got them mixed up.
When I first started,
You didn't have to sort them all out.
When I first started, I would have this pile. I had a pile here with the number on the piece of paper, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here. And I was doing something one day, and this whole corner was done. I forget what it was. I dropped something, and it went. So here I am on the digital calipers, because there only very few cells. So that's when I went to these dishes. Yep. All right. So any questions on making the rings up? Okay, the next thing is going to be the very bottom ring. And on that, there's several ways of doing it. As Philip has done on his here, you can use a solid piece. Like I say, where you can have problems is expansion, contraction. Okay. Malcolm says basically, number one, if you use quarter sawn, you don't have as much of a problem. But he's saying much over 5 inches diameter, you probably will have a problem if you stay less than that. So that's the simplest way to go. Like here, this was just a solid piece on the bottom. The disadvantage of using a solid piece is you're going to end up turning some end grain.
Yeah.
Nice thing about segmented turning is you don't have any end grain. One thing you can't do is make it out of segments and put them together because you're going to have a little hole in the middle. If you make it up like this, when I've done it, I'll show you one later on, I could go ahead and drill, put a 1-inch plug in here, but eventually that's going to split because that 1-inch plug won't grow and eventually you're going to end up with 2 cracks. I don't care what you do, it's going to happen. More so on this than you will on this. What I started doing is I would take my first ring, I glue it onto my waste block, so I put it on the lathe. I go ahead and cut a rabbet. Then I make up this disc, about a 1/16 of an inch smaller in diameter, so it's got some room to play. And then, with the exception, I want to put glue on these 2 little spots I've got marked. The rest of this ring, I'll take canning wax, Gulf canning wax, paraffin, and I'll wax. You could use paste wax, but you wax all the edge, all of here. I don't want it to stick to it. I don't want this to stick to the end. I don't want it sticking to it. I want it to be able to float. Except for these 2 spots, I'll put a couple spots of glue, put that in, put some weight on it, let that set up. Once that's set up, I'll put it in the lathe and I'll cut that off flush all the way across. There's enough glue to hold that when I'm turning it. Then my next ring, the next ring when I put it on, that next ring's gonna, that's a little bit too big. Just for an example. See if this is the next ring. That next ring will hold that in place. So I say this has all been waxed so nothing sticks to it. So once I'm done, all this can expand and contract and this can just float around it. Just call it floating disc.
So are you saying you fill the outside around with wax too, or just?
No, all of this, I don't want anything to stick
Oh,
to
I got
this.
you, I got you.
The only thing I want wax is these two spots where I want to glue it. As far as this outside edge, this, any place to glue or polyurethane finish my head, I'll just wax it.
I'm trying to understand the purpose of that disc now. What's it,
Because this ring is going to expand and contract.
But is that the base? Is that what you're talking about?
This is the bottom ring.
That's the bottom.
This will be cut off.
Oh,
This is the bottom ring. Yep, there's the little plug right there.
okay.
oh, okay.
So like I say, this ring is going to expand and contract. This isn't, no matter what you do,
That's filling
whether it
the
be a
hole.
solid piece, you can't go to this because you're going to put in a plug, it's the same difference. In other words, this,
Just sitting down floating in the recess inside.
so you call this a floating disc. Right.
So it's always floating, even in, end product?
I've never had one come loose, but just like this here, something starts expanding enough, one of these two little glue joints is going to break loose.
Right,
Okay, and the other one
Which is
is going to
fine.
stay attached.
Yeah.
So I've never had one really float around.
oh, okay.
But it can, in other words, everything can expand and contract around it and not be
Uh-huh.
locked into it. Or if you just glue onto this here solid like this,
Ah,
this is
okay.
going to expand and contract, or this, like I say, this is going to expand and
Got nowhere to
contract this
go.
way, but not this way.
I got you.
So you're just leaving it loose, so to speak. So I did this for a long time. And like I say, what you do is cut that rabbit, put that in, cut it off flush, and you put the next ring on, then that keeps that sandwich in there. Can't go anywhere. What I've done since then, I've been doing for quite some time.
The next ring you use, you just gotta, even if the bolt's going out, you just gotta make sure the pieces are wide enough to where it
Yeah,
holds that bolt.
right, exactly. And then when I'm done, and there, this is not the correct ring, but that next ring, it'll overlap this maybe quarter of an inch by the time I turn the center of it, 3/8 of an inch. Now, what I've been doing,
You wanna make sure the next ring's not glued to that, right?
well, there again, once this is all turned off, I got the next ring. Before I put that next ring on, I'll take that Gulf wax that I use, and I'll go ahead and I'll coat all that top of that, so the glue doesn't stick to it. Like I say, you probably could use paste wax. I don't use paste wax because to me, if you use the paste wax, it's going to embed into the wood. And then when I get, because I want to get that wax off on the area that's going to be finished.
Right.
And to me, that Gulf wax comes out better. So that's one way of doing it. And what I've been doing for years now is I'll make up my half rings. And then I've got a slot cutter. I use it with a router table, I use it with a router. And I've got an 1/8" slot cutter, or I've got a 1/4" slot cutter, or 1/16, whatever you want. And it's got a bearing, so the slot, you'll cut a 1/2 inch deep slot. Okay. So once I've got these two halves made up, I'll go ahead and I'll cut that slot, dado, if that's what you want to call it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Doing the same thing, I'll make up this 1/8 inch thick disc. If it's a bigger disc, say if I was doing that, I might go 1/4 inch thick disc. I'll make up that disc, it'll fit into that slot. And there's enough room, so you got some play in it, so that can flow.
And you wax that the same way.
Then I'll wax that whole thing, edges, front, back, wax the whole thing.
You call that Gulf wax?
Yeah, I think that's the only company probably makes it anymore, it's old canning wax.
Canning wax and food line, they have it.
Paraffin,
Okay.
they're probably the only company that makes it.
Right.
It's just canning wax. And like I say, you could use, Johnson paste wax, but I say this works for me. So once I do that, we'll just go and glue those two halves together, clamp it up, and I'm done. So it's the same principle as this,
That's faster, isn't it?
gets faster. Now Malcolm, he's got a way, what he does, and I won't do it, when he's all done, he'll take the piece is finished, he'll put it back in the lathe, and when he put his bottom ring on, he just put on just an open ring like this, and then he builds it. Once he's done, he puts it back on the lathe, then he comes in, he actually cuts a taper, a rabbet on a taper, and then he makes another ring that fits into it. It's got to take a lot of time to get this to fit right. I won't do that, because to me, I've just spent 100 hours making this turning, and now I got to put it back in the lathe, and I can get one catch and blow it up in a heartbeat. So I'm not going to do it. So, I mean, this is done when I first put it together. So that's the way I work it. And it's been working. Now I have some of these try something different. especially on the bigger bottoms. I just finished a bowl that's in the house there now. And eventually some of this, because of the width of this, they will open up. And I'll tell you, humidity plays the devil. Because this right here, last weekend, or before last Saturday, this had a gap. I mean, this was opened up. So I did it on this sander, chewed it up. I looked at it yesterday, it opened up again. I mean, this is 5, 6 years old.
Right.
But just the change in the humidity, you get that much change. What I'm gonna do on my next ones, if this is my very bottom one, I'm still gonna put like a 1/4 inch thick ring on the bottom, so I'm offset brick pattern, and I'm gonna have another ring here that's gonna offset. Because to me, this because of this width, in other words, this short one isn't gonna shrink as much as this one is. In other words, the longer, the wider that is, the more it's gonna shrink.
So you're saying you'll just have a bigger hollow place at the bottom with the 2 rings?
What I'll do is, I will say if this is the bottom, for example, on this one here. I've never had one of these open up on the vase because this is narrow.
Yeah.
But if you get onto some of your bowls where this is maybe this wide, they'll start opening up. So what I'm going to do on the next one, even though this is the bottom, I'm going to put like a 1/4 inch
So you said a deeper
ring on the bottom.
cavity there.
Yeah, and make sure it covers. So in other words, this joint will be covered with another segment. I just like when you put these together, you always go brick pattern.
Yeah.
Because if you put these together where all your joints lined up, it's going to fall apart. So you got to go brick pattern. Because your end joints are the biggest joint you get. That's the force joint you get.
So this ring right here, it has a tendency to open up probably like that one did with that little.
Well, like I say,
Got so much-
if you just glue them like you see there, you're going to have a hole in the middle. So I say, okay, I'll go ahead and glue them up, then I'll go ahead and drill it, put in a plug. 1/4 inch plug, 1/2 inch plug, whatever. Eventually that plug is going to break
You
loose.
can't just leave the little hole?
Pardon?
You can't just leave the little hole?
If that's what anybody wants to do.
I mean, is there a reason why you shouldn't?
The water will run out.
What?
The water will run out.
Well, yeah, but it,
I just don't like the looks of it.
oh, okay.
That's my
But
opinion.
there's no reason why
Spend
you
that much
couldn't?
time on it,
Oh,
the ring
okay.
won't hold.
What's that?
That's it, you spent so much time on the base.
Yeah, there's no reason why you couldn't.
I'm not thinking you're not gonna put anything, you know.
No, and
down
most
or
people
anything,
want- And that's one thing on these turnings, and when we go in the house sometime, I'll show you. A lot of these turnings, the beauty is when you look at the inside. I mean, you got, but you never see the inside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You always got something in them.
yeah, that's true.
Turner in you do.
What's that?
I said the turner in you, look inside.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like people to say, oh, you finished the inside too. Well, yeah, if you don't finish the inside, it's not done.
Yeah.
Or a lot of people don't finish the inside,
Oh, really?
you know. It's to each their own. You know.
When you say finished, you mean turning or finish finish?
Both,
Oh.
turning and finish. In other words, if I put 8 coats of finish on the outside, I put 8 coats of finish on the inside.
You turn it in stages, basically.
Pardon?
Half of a base, or a section of the base, you'll turn it, finish it, add the other
Sure.
sections.
Like that one there.
All the way down.
That'll be all
just like
done,
the
then I'll
outside.
Yeah. Go ahead and, while it's still on the faceplate, I'll put it on the lathe and put the finish on the inside now.
I know what you're saying, there. Some of it.
Yeah, I've seen some of
No,
them.
no, I build all my bases in halves. I build everything I build in halves.
So you don't have so much hollowing to do this.
Right. When you're ready to mount it to the lathe, when you're ready to mount your first ring, you can use chucks. Okay. When I first started, I used chucks. I had one, and the problem you have there is I build all my turnings in 2 halves. I start from bottom up, top down, so I'm turning 2 halves. So you're constantly putting it in and out of the chuck, because you're going to glue a ring on and back and forth. And you can do that, which is inconvenient. So I bought 2, matter of fact, I got 3 chucks. But you're talking $200 a pop. So what I've done, you can buy face plates that are about $30 a pop. I get to McMaster car, I buy nuts and washers, and I have these made up, and they cost me about $7. And I've got 24 of them. And I got
Machine
different,
shop make them up?
what's that?
Machine shop makes them up for you, or?
I get it, and then I used to weld them up, or I no longer have access to welder. So I got different sizes, but if you do different sizes, I got different size waste blocks. This will be turned off, eventually this will be turned off, that's why they'll call it a waste block. So what you do is you buy the nut, whatever fits your spindle on your thread, on your lathe, this has to be 1 1/4 8. Buy the washer, and what I did when I had these welded up was I just took a piece of MDF, threw in on the chuck, turned the recess for the washer, okay. Then I took it in to have the guy weld them up. I have just the nut without anything on it. I put that on the bench, put the nut down in that hole, clamp it in place, then pick this up out, and then go ahead and weld the nut. All that does is just center the washer up on the nut.
Oh,
Doesn't have to be perfectly round, doesn't have to be perfectly flat. Once that's done, then you're gonna go ahead and put this waste block on it. Then put it in the lathe, true it round, true up the face. So it doesn't make any difference if the washer's off.
Oh, okay.
Once you get that on, in other words, that's perfectly centered. Then, I won't use any of this. I'll go ahead and I'll add another waste block. For example, I've done on this, see that's got one added on. So I'll keep wasting some. Every time I cut a turning off, I'll waste some of this. Once I get down to that joint, then I'll glue another piece back on.
Good.
And the reason why I do a lot of that is because a lot of times I need to go smaller. So there's a smaller diameter there, some of them. So that's had 2 or 3 pieces glued on it.
What's the biggest one you have? Largest diameter waste block?
Right now, it's this one here, it's about 8 inch.
Oh, okay.
Whereas I've got 23 or 24 of these.
That's to turn the top or the bottom or,
I do, I turn everything in halves.
right?
I make everything in halves.
Yeah, like that one. What size
This is
would
made
the,
from here to here, and from here to here. The joint, there's a joint right there.
so what size would the waste block be for that bottom? Okay,
Stuff like that.
okay.
I usually put whatever the finish is gonna, whatever that finish dimension is, that's usually about the size of the waste block or a little bit under.
So you turn the waste block to your finished dimension and then,
Well, it depends, in other words, if that's, depends on what I've got. In other words, if I grab this waste block, that'll work.
oh, okay. So it just has to
Or
force.
even this,
Whoop.
even this one here would work. That would work.
Okay.
Well, I usually use a waste block that's as small as whatever the finished diameter is going to be.
Oh, okay.
And of course, obviously, it's topping would have had a bigger one. And when I'm turning that, if it's a little bit too big, I'll cut into the waste block. But like I say, it's going to be this piece is going to be replaced anyhow. But to me, that's one of the best ways.
So how are you holding each individual ring to the waste block while you turn?
Well, no, I don't do each individual ring. Let me get this stuff out of the way.
Oh, that's right. The rings are glued
Yeah,
together,
glue
right?
half of them together.
Well, you glue on, and there again, if you go on a lot of these websites, and I did it at the beginning, didn't really have a problem. Working on some pieces here. Oh, once the rings are done, all glued up, now you gotta true up the face of them. Because they aren't gonna be perfectly flat.
Oh, right.
I use my drum sander.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to have a drum sander, but it's nice to have. Disc sander, if you got a big enough disc sander. Most people, you're probably not gonna go over 8 or 10 inch diameter. So you can just pick up your 12-inch disc sander for $169.
That's fine.
Whatever.
12 inch, yeah.
I had 12 inch, I had 3 of them at one time, but then I kept getting bigger, so I went to 20 inch. If you don't have a disc sander, take a face plate, put a piece of 3/4 MDF or whatever, put it on your lathe, you'll chew up the face of it, stick your paper on it, and make your own disc sander. Problem with that, you don't have any dust collection, or you got you got a heck of a mess. And so there's several ways of doing it. Like I say, I use a drum sander. But I don't finish it. If I want a 3/4 inch finished ring, I'll still end up like 13/16. Because I won't turn it down, I won't sand it down to the final thickness, because I want to be able to reface every ring. You can, and I've done that at the beginning. I would take, say these rings, I would stack these 2 rings together. Stack these 2 together, these 2 together, then I'd come back and put those 4 together, just like I did on here.
Yeah.
But the problem is, if you're off a 1/16 of an inch, or 32nds of an inch on each one of these, first thing you know, you're this way. So what I do is I'll put on the first ring. I'll put on the first ring, I'll put it in the lathe. First thing I'll do is I'll turn the inside just enough to make it round, to get rid of these flat spots. Otherwise, you get this all together, and first thing, when you get right there on the inside, you look inside, and you got all these flat spots. You gotta reach here. So what I'll do is I'll turn that just enough to make it round, or turn the outside just enough to make it round, to get rid of the flat spots. Now I know this is perfectly round, perfectly centered. Then if this was 7/8 thick and I wanted 3/4, then I'll go ahead and face it off to 3/4 thick, using a sanding board. Sand it, so now I know that's round, it's flat, it's true. Okay. Then I'll go ahead and glue it on the next ring. Once that's set up, I'll put it back in the lathe. I'll do the same thing. I'll turn the inside just so it's round. I'm not going to remove any more than I have to. Just enough to get rid of the flat spots, just enough to get rid of the flat spots. Once that's done, I'll go on the next one. And that's how, and I'll go from the bottom up, from the top down. Now, what I do as far as lining everything up, when I get ready to do the first initial waste block, see, if I want to mount that waste block on that ring, you can use a pencil, or I use these little markers. You need to have a center finding rule. You can't live without a center finding rule. Because what's half of 1 7/16? Really don't care. I want to find the diameter of this. Starting at that, okay, well, and there again, all I care about is this shows me it's 4 inches in diameter. It happens to be, it's 2 inches, it's a hair under 2 inches. So that's the dimension right there. And now I'll find the center on this. That is 2 5/8. So that was 2. So I'll mark that 2. Now you could go just 90 degrees, but I'll go more than that because to me it's a lot more accurate. I'll go 2 5/8. Okay, there's 2. There's 2. See what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Like I said, I really don't care what that dimension is as long as it's the same. In other words, I got 2 inches there, I got 2 inches there. I got 2 5/8 here, I got 2 5/8 here. Okay, so I've done that in those 3 spots. Now you go ahead and set this on, line this mark up, that mark up, those marks, those marks.
It's center.
Now you're centered. I mean, as close as your eyes will give it to you. Once you've done that, then I'll go ahead and I'll draw all the way around here. And then if there's your other rings where I want to make sure they're lined up or misaligned on the verticals, I'll go ahead and put some reference lines. So once I take this apart, I can put it back in the same location and not get it rotated. I'll do that, okay, once I've done that, and that glue is set up, I'll put that back in the lathe, turn the inside, turn the outside. Then, let's see, is it this one? See, this has been sitting here, see how that's opened up? Like I said, that's probably 5 years old.
Yeah.
But if this had been turned down to 3/16 1/4 inch thick, you wouldn't have that. You don't have that mass of wood, so you don't have that problem. Where's that? like I said, that'll be the first one. Now, to me, the two most important things with segmented turning is tight joints, vertical, horizontal, whatever. I've had people say, what do you use for filler? You got so many different colored woods. You don't use a filler. If you got to put a filler in it, you got a problem. Okay. The next one is alignment or misalignment of the vertical joints, and not being critical of filler, but this one should be lined up. This is just my opinion, and there's been times I've offset them purposely, but this should be lined up with this one.
And then they purposely.
I've done a lot. But a lot of these, and I've seen these people, I mean, and I don't know if they don't see it, they've got to care, otherwise they wouldn't have done the work that they did. But you see some of these, and to me it's so obvious. If you look at that one, or if you look at this one, or if you look at any of them. And some of them, to me, that's about as ugly as you can get, but anyhow, that's.
Oh,
See, on that one there, he did good at the bottom half, the top half was all screwed up.
So this line should match up with one on the
Right.
accent ring.
Right, this one you want centered, so that one needs to be centered.
See the vertical, and that joint should be centered right over the top of
That's
this
what I
one.
mean.
Yep. Just like here, if you look at this, nothing's lined up.
this is really odd.
I mean, this should have been lined up with this, should have been lined up with this, lined up with this, lined up with this.
It's like a brick pattern or something.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't know if they don't see, they gotta care, otherwise they wouldn't spend the time.
They were so busy thinking about all the other, getting the
See,
joints
just
tight and
like-
everything.
Just like this one here. I mean, that should have been here, but even these two are misaligned. But I see this, and I go on these websites and they'll say, well, why don't people comment? You know, people say, oh, it looks great. Oh, I'm not gonna comment, it doesn't look great. You know? But that's just,
They don't want to be that critical, I guess.
but what I'm saying is they spent that time, I know obviously they do detail, but then I don't know if they just overlook it. But I mean, to me, you get all done, and I mean, to me, that's, it's not right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, maybe a lot of people wouldn't see it.
Yeah, yeah.
Doing kind of same thing on here, or you put the middle lathe and match it
I'll
together.
show you what I'm doing that.
I've done a couple of them.
Looking for another ring right here.
Sir, I'm still confused. That waste block,
Yep,
is it glued to the first ring?
yes.
And how do you,
Part it off.
Okay,
oh,
when I'm
you part
done,
it off?
this is the
Part it
first ring, when
off.
I'm done, I'll put that back in the lathe, and I will part, I won't take any wood off this ring, I'll cut out another 6 feet.
I got you.
That's why you call it a waste block.
That's why it's called a waste block.
And how much glue do you put on there?
Just like I did.
The whole bottom of the,
In other words, when I get ready to glue this onto this ring,
uh-huh.
I'll put, and like I said, I'll get into that in a minute.
Remember, after 100 hours, you don't want it to come apart on the lathe.
No, no.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you glue that first ring on, put it on the lathe, turn the inside round, outside round, take it back off the lathe.
You got it
Done here.
flat in
Face
the
it if you
face.
need to.
Face it, well, I face it, because I'm gonna bring it down to whatever, I mean, maybe I want 3/4 inch, maybe I want 1/4 inch, maybe I want 16. Remember that one there, I had 1/8 inch, that last one I did 3/32 on some of those rings.
You
Then
you
take it
breezed
back
it,
off.
you breezed over it quick, but after he faces it with a tool, he'll take a board, a flat board,
Sand it.
and sand the whole thing while it's spinning
Yeah, while that's spinning on the lathe.
to make sure that it's actually
I'll go and hit this,
100%
hit
flat.
this with a pencil, get pencil marks. Then I'll go and hit that with sanding board, 100 grit paper, 80 grit paper, 100 grit paper.
While it's on the lathe, right?
Yes.
Something, yeah. I
while
do
it's
all my
spinning.
work on the lathe, yep. I put all my finish on the lathe.
What kind of speed, just slow speed, like 400 or 500 something like
About 500 on sanding. Yep. Turning, I'll turn up 1200.
that? But then after you sand it, you take it back off. And
Then I'll take it back off, then I'll do the next ring. Put that back in, turn it around inside and out,
Rinse and repeat.
service it, thickness, and the next one, the next one, the next one. Now, as far as, what do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As far as lining up vertically, and like I said, I really don't know on a lot of this, if they just don't see it, They gotta care, otherwise they wouldn't get to the point that they did in detail. Once this has been turned around, I'll take it off the lathe, and my eyes aren't as good as they used to be. So I'll go ahead and I'll mark the joint itself, because the last thing you wanna do is get ready to put glue on this, now you gotta hunt for that line. So I'll go ahead and I'll mark that. Usually I'll go just every other one, but on this I've used it so many times, I've done multiple times. Then using the center finder, what I wanna do is I wanna find the center of these segments. Okay, so I can line that up. So what I'll do is using this center gauge, usually I'll have a weight here, so this won't move out of the way. But that's 9/16. So I'll go ahead and I'll go all the way around, and I'm just gonna go ahead and mark these freehand. I'll go all the way around, find the center,
You're finding the center of the segment, right?
find the center of the segment.
Well, if you did just two sides, would the rest of it not be lined up?
Like I say, you could do, but I found that, and like I say, I'll go at least every other one, because you'll find out when you first set that on, maybe 3 of them line up and the others don't. If you turn it or not, you keep turning, usually they'll come, so at one point it'll come out.
But if you happen to trim this on the table saw, like you did, this segment may be a little bit shorter.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so be sure to mark a bunch.
And that's another thing, Michael, too. Say if you did all your rings on the table saw or sander and they all went up a little bit oval, and that's another thing where these marks come in handy. If you get ready to put the next ring on top of this, if you're off just that one, you'll find out you'll probably get a better chance of lining up. Or if you go 90 degrees, you have a better chance of lining up. And it's amazing, you start out here, just like right here, there's 16 segments. I've got 8 different locations. Once I start turning this around, I've got 8 points. I can turn that. Check it. Anyhow, once I've done that, I'll find the center of these by measuring each one. Then I'll come back, doing the same thing. I'll find out the diameter of this, which is 2 1/4. Like I said, I don't care if there's 4 1/2, I just want 2 1/4. So now I'm using these lines. That is 2 7/8, hair under 2 7/8. So I'll mark that at 2 1/4. Draw the line back, 2 1/4. Now don't draw the lines through this way. If you do, when you get all done turning, you'll have all these little black dots. They will show up. So then I'll go here, say that's 2 7/8, mark that 2 1/4. And I'm not worried about being too accurate, I'm just showing you the process.
So aren't you concerned about black dots on the outside now?
No, because that's going to be all turned off.
Oh, that's your,
This here, that's going to be a 1/4 inch.
I gotcha.
Quarter
I
inch.
gotcha. Yeah.
All I did was I just turned that just enough so I know this is centered around.
So your lines you just made are on here,
Yep,
and as you turn that,
Yep.
that'll go away.
that's going to go away.
I gotcha.
Yep. Now, I could just put this in the lathe. Now, if this was 12, I could just put the lathe, just knock off those high corners. But since these are 16, you don't have enough there. So I turned it just enough so there's no flat spot left at all. That way I know it is perfectly round. So now, once I go all the way around and do this, now I'll take this unit, same as I did before. I'll go ahead and I'll line this one up and the opposite one up. Then I'll see how these others are. Now, if you look at this right here, I've got odd number of segments here. But anyway, if you aren't lined up, I'll move this a notch, because you may not be perfect on your measure. In other words, if this one line, if I was off-centered on that one line, and if I use that as my reference point every time, it's always going to be wrong. So if I'm not happy with that, I'll go one line, and then I'll turn this a notch. Then I'll come back and I'll check. Go all the way around. If I'm not happy with that, I'll go another line, and I'll turn this line. Go all the way around. That right there, because I got different numbered segments on these rings. Right there, those I'm lined up. So now I'll come in, and I want to be able to see this point. So when I draw my line, I'll just go in between. This just gives me something to see when I'm putting the glue on and trying to get things
Yeah.
lined up. And there again, before I take this apart, I'm gonna make some reference lines so I make sure to get this back in the same orientation. And since I've used this so many times, I've got some reference lines right here, so I'll use the same area. Not gonna be fancy. So once you've got that, this is where we'll get into the ring press. Personally, I don't see any reason for a ring press. Number one, if these rings don't fit tight, dry, they're not gonna fit tight. Put glue on. I mean, and you can tell, you can look, it's, okay. Once I've got that where I want it, I'll go ahead and take my glue. And use a lot of glue
You're
because...
generous, honey.
Huh?
Generous with glue.
Oh yeah, because I'll tell you what, you get into a 12 or 14 inch diameter ring that's only 5/8 of an inch wide, you put that glue on, you put that together, you might have a minute and it's going to be setting up. This will take a little longer. Okay, set that. Put some weight on, put some pressure to it, roll it around. Use paper towels. Wipe out some of the excess. There. Now I've got a chisel here I'll use. And I'll drag this around. Just so my eyes aren't as good as they used to be. I want to be able to see what I'm doing. Now for clamping it. I've got 8. Whoops. I've got 8 1-gallon cans, and I fill them up with sand and water. It's the heaviest weight I could come up with. Weighs 18 pounds. Now, you know what it's like to try to clamp 2 boards together with glue. Goes in every direction to where you want it. Now see right there, just that little bit of time I left that, that's starting to set up. But this is why I don't go to a press. Because once you set that, usually I'll put the glue on, get that weight on, but I can move this around to where I want it, and then just leave it. If I'm doing bigger rings, I put on 2, I put on 3. And that's why I don't use a press.
20 minutes later, you next.
Yeah, 20 minutes. And there, what I do is I'll cut, say if I'm going to do 30 rings on a segment, I'll cut the first top 3 rings, first top 3 rings. Get them sanded. I'll start gluing them up into the half rings. Once I get those things, 6 half glued up, I'll go back, cut some more segments. So I'm always constantly working back and forth. Used to be when I did the rub joint, I'd have these 2 all over the place and then there's nothing to do. You know, first thing you know, the way I do it now is I'm constantly doing something.
Yeah.
So usually, and there again, I'll write the time down. For all out at least 15 minutes, sometimes 30's off. Now you go ahead and true up the bottom of that, sand it. That's complete.
So that whole unit at that point is on the headstock
That's on the lathe, just like that.
and it's rotating, and then you can true up
Start
that,
that off,
part it off, and then
do the sanding.
sanding and clean it up. Okay.
Once you're done with that, take out all your rods.
So with that there, you could essentially put that finished piece back on the lathe and just put another coat on it if you needed to.
Yeah, you won't.
Rods.
The problem is you don't really have any way of getting it centered unless you still have,
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
unless you still have a waste block. You can put it on and then you gotta play with it to get it perfectly centered. Now, if I wanted to refinish the outside of this, what I would do is put that on the headstock. Okay.
You just sandwich.
Then on the tailstock, using this live center, if I want to get fancy, I can take one of these waste blocks and I could turn it down so it just actually fit in the center of that. If it's not perfectly centered, I don't care. That's all I want to do is just resand it and refinish it. lot of people use something like this to center the rings up on the lathe. Using, I would say that fastened to the chuck. You go ahead and put this on the tailstock and actually use that for centering these rings up. Now, you still got to contend with getting these lined
Yeah.
up. That's why I still like doing it this way. There's all kinds of ways of doing this. It's just,
What is that? Is that paper in the middle of that donut, Chuck, or is it chamois, or what is that?
this, that's some of that same rubber,
Oh,
so it
okay.
doesn't mess up the finish.
That's just to protect the finish, okay.
Just protect the finish. Yep. And I got two of these going. This was a 16 inch I made when I had my jet. And I've got another one out there I made for my 20 inch. And you make up different rings. In other words, this would fit this one. Or if you're doing a big bowl, you have to have a larger diameter, so you make up just all different sizes. Whatever you need.